You are listening to the Loida Lewis podcast, hosted by Loida Nicolas Lewis. She's a trailblazing businesswoman, leader, philanthropist, and the widow of Reginald F. Lewis, the visionary leader who was the first African American to build a billion-dollar company. With unparalleled determination, Loida Lewis has not only excelled as a successful attorney, but also shaped a billion-dollar empire. Following the untimely passing of her husband, Reginald F. Lewis, she took the helm of TLC Beatrice, carving her legacy as a successful business leader. Be inspired and learn from her as she shares her wisdom, the secrets to her success in both business, in love, and in life. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn. With your host, Miss Loida Lewis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Loida Lewis podcast. Live, love, laugh, and learn with me. And today I have a great honor of introducing you to the first Filipino to break into the NBA, National Basketball Association of America. Yes, the first Filipino, and he is Erwin Benedict Valencia. Erwin, and he's here. Hello, Erwin.
Hi, Tita Loida. Thank you for having me here.
Yes. I was, immediately when I came in, that you are so tall. Okay? So, let me just start. When I was researching about you, you are the first person whose name has PT, physical therapist, DPT, doctor of physical therapist, MED, ATC, CSCS,
CS.
CES, PES, PTRP. Wow. So, just tell them, what are you doing now? Those who are listening.
Well, I think it's funny you rattled off all the letters I have in my name. There's a period of time, I think probably more than a decade ago, where it was such a thing for me to gain all these letters. I think for my own personal validity and in the profession in general, that I think at one point I had 36 next to my name, which then it would never fit in a business card. And somebody would be like, why do you need to have all of this? And it was interesting because it took somebody really important that says, in the end, you're defined by who you are, not by the letters that are next to your name. And I think ever since that, I think that words of encouragement, so to speak, it's been a journey for me to just define me as me and not really from the things that surround me. So that being said, right now, after working for almost a decade with the Knicks in the NBA and 8 years in Major League Baseball, I'm taking some time off. I'm on my if you must eat, pray, love year, just traveling the world, spending more time in the Philippines, getting to really have deeper conversations with my parents in the Philippines about life, about death, about finances, and about succession, as well as really giving more time to kids in the Philippines that I've always wanted to pursue really the philanthropic side of myself, where creating these possibilities for children to have a better mental health and the awareness of what mental health means in the Philippines is something that's still a bit of a struggle. But hopefully, because of my experience in the NBA, it gets to inspire kids knowing that a kid from Manila made it to the biggest stage in basketball.
Yes, that's wonderful. So let's bring it back. Let's bring it all the way back to where were you born and how did you become a Filipino?
It's interesting. I was born here in New Jersey, in Loida, New Jersey. My father was going to his OJT after finishing business school at Nisho-Iwa in Japan at Sophia University, which was like the Harvard of Japan. And one of his on-the-job trainings or externship, if you must, was at Nisho-Iwa, which is a finance firm down in Wall Street, a Japanese finance firm. So he was here while my mother was going to business school at Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey, while also working as an admin to my great uncle, who was a town doctor, a town physician for the little town of Lodi, New Jersey, who was very beloved he took care of the people around his town, even when he was still in his fellowships and residency, to the point that everyone knew who he was, and he never charged any of them. So there's a period of time where his residency and his fellowship was done, and then obviously his papers started getting an issue, and the town rallied for him and had a senator sign a bill to give him permanent residency because he continued to serve the people. And that was a big inspiration, not just for my parents to hopefully one day become me, but it became an inspiration for myself as well, to knowing that in the end, when we go to school, when we find ourselves really becoming who we want to be, the next step is always finding a way to give back. And it's not because you just want it for your ego, but because this is something that, for legacy wise, it allows for people to remember you and know that you've done something for them, and then they'll feel it's part of what life should be, and it's a lesson for their kids. And I think you're able to spread love much easier that way. So I was born in New Jersey, but then from there we moved to Houston, and then from Houston moved to Davao City. And my parents, who were here originally for education and for their internships, we kind of started moving around, and we moved to Davao when I was maybe about 4 years old, because my grandfather passed away at that period of time, and my grandmother was couldn't handle the family business in Davao. So
which was what?
Which was really real estate. My grandfather was the former governor of Pampanga, and also he was the undersecretary of Public Works and Highways during the time of Estado de Macapagal. And they grew up together in Pampanga, and it was my grandfather that helped build the bridges that then connected Luzon all the way to Mindanao.
Wow, my goodness.
Hence we settled in Davao, and it was there where I started really learning Bisaya. And it's funny enough, it was one of those things that my parents made sure that the nannies only talk to me in either Bisaya or Tagalog so I can actually learn this. But then when I was in third grade, with everything going on in the Philippines, with the insurgents going on and the almost civil war that was going on, and the threat of kidnapping, which was very popular in Davao at that time, my parents sent me alone on a plane to stay with my godfather in San Jose, California. So
and how old were you then?
I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
okay. It's almost like boarding school.
Yeah, in a way, but you're 8 and you really don't know the difference.
Yes.
I didn't know what was happening. All I knew is that when I left on the plane, we, as a half family, we couldn't go, all of us. So I was the only one that could go, and it particularly because of the fact that I was I think I was the eldest boy in my generation that had the last name, and that last name was tied to the possibility of obviously being cased by some people who want to do harm on me. Yes. And so
that's about Valencia, because
Valencia.
you're in the political scene also.
Your
uncle, your grandfather.
My grandfather was. And so I think we may not have been the wealthiest people in Davao, but we were connected to a lot of them because we also owned the Memorial Park. So we laid to rest many of their relatives.
Yes.
So because of our interconnection with the community, I was definitely somebody that those
could be
who wanted to harm
kidnapped.
could be kidnapped.
Yes,
basically.
yes.
So I was sent on a plane by myself. I thought it was initially a lot of fun because of the fact that I was 8 years old and I lived with my uncle and I had freedom, and I had a BMX bike and I just rode around the neighborhood all day. That time Silicon Valley was not Silicon Valley yet.
Yes.
And it was fun times, but also I felt that need to be responsible a little bit more because obviously my parents weren't there. So
are you the only son?
No, I'm the eldest.
The
eldest of 3.
Okay.
But I was the only one that went through that situation because that's when the time in the Philippines where things were going a bit crazy, if you must.
Yes.
But it
was that still martial law?
No, that was right after martial law.
86.
This was like people power and
Yes.
a lot of things going on.
Right.
But because of that, Mindanao was a hotbed of every kind of rebellion.
Yes.
So I just happened to be, gladly enough, happened to not be a victim of all of that because of the quick thinking of my parents.
Yes.
Even though the possibility was real.
All right. So there you are in California, near Silicon Valley. So where did you go to school? How was your adjustment again to American life?
Well, the first thing that I had to learn, my tita there was like, you have to remove the e. You have to remove the e because you're coming from Davao. I was Bisaya. So I was like, kasi e. No, you have to remove the e. Remove the e from us. Like, why? But this is what I learned. It's like, no, you're an American now. You have to remove the e. So I was like, okay, number one. Number two, I had to do chores. So now you have to learn to do chores. I had to wash the dishes, do the laundry, and because there's no one else that was going to do it for me. So I learned how to do that. And number three, I had to work. So, at the age of 8 or 9, I started working as a newspaper boy.
Delivering
newspapers, the San Jose Mercury News. And they would arrive about 10, 11 o'clock at night. I would put them in rubber bands individually and put them in plastics if it was raining the next day. And I would load up my BMX bike that my dad gave me money for. And then I would put them, maybe I would try to squeeze maybe 50 at a time. And we would bike around the neighborhood. Then I would like...
At 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, before
6 o'clock,
school.
Yeah, before school, because I had to go to school. So at 6:30, 7 in the morning. So, I think I maybe made $3.50, $4 an hour. But I think for me, it gave me the independence to learn that I can work for something. And for me, the reward was my GI Joes. So
you buy the cars.
Yeah, so no, the cars, but also the figures. So I bought these
actual figures.
The actual figures, because were at that time I think they were $5. So I know that if I work 1 hour, I can be close to buying one figure, and then I can buy another figure. So I would work 2-3 hours a day, because that's the time I had before I had to go to school. And it really made me, I guess, who I am today. That was the beginning of understanding
the work ethic.
The work ethic, exactly. That
The
was
work
very
ethic,
important.
setting your goal, and just the time management of how to get a certain amount of money so that you can buy GI Joe.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny to think about this right now, but at an early age, that's you learning how to budget time, budget money. If this is all you got from your parents or from your ninong, this is all you have. So how then you make it bigger? And I wish back then I was a better investor of things, and maybe I'd have more money now.
But you bought the things that you wanted to.
Yes. At 8 years old, at 9 years old.
Yeah. So that's great. That's great. So and you also studied.
Yeah, obviously I went to school. I went to school in San Jose, and then after that year and a half that I was there, when things finally subsided in the Philippines, my parents sent back for me, and we ended up living in a building in Makati that my grandfather used to own. We just stayed in one of the floors, and we turned it into a living quarters. And I ended up going to school, finishing 4th and 5th grade at San Agustin in Dasma. And then we moved to a house that we were building in Ayala, Alabang when I was 6th grade. And at that time, there was nobody in Alabang. It was a mango field, and we had our little house there, and I was walking to school, and it was weird because I still was somewhat of an American boy coming from the States. I had an accent, but I was also Filipino. So trying to identify myself were challenges, both being in the States, but being Filipino, but then being back in the Philippines, but being an American boy.
Yes.
So it was definitely one of those times in my life where I said, okay, who am I really? And at that time, the one thing, weirdly enough, that made me learn who my identity was there was this thing, they had these, these slam books, these books where where you're like, write, my favorite color is this, my favorite food is this.
Yes.
Autograph books, I think that's what they used to call them. Slam books, or autograph books, yeah.
Autograph.
And oddly enough, that lets you learn your identity more. It's like, I like the color yellow because it's bright. My favorite food is sinigang. It's like little things. You never realize with simple things like that as you're growing up, helps you create an identity. Even as simple as, how do you like your eggs? And for a while you tried, it's like, hard-boiled's good, but I kind of like the soft-boiled. So for a while you're eating just soft-boiled eggs. And then you're like, okay, sunny side up, very typical Filipino. But then like, I came to America and somebody said, oh, you want it over easy, over medium? I was like, I didn't even know there was over easy, over medium, And you learn through that. And actually, weirdly enough, the simple knowing of how you like your eggs is part of your identity.
Yes. No. Very good.
And
That's
I think
very good.
that part of my life was definitely understanding who I was.
Who you were. Okay.
Yeah.
So you stayed there for high school also in the Philippines?
So I ended up going to Zobel because I was in where Alabang was quite by.
Yes,
so I ended up finishing high school in Zobel. And I was, at the end of high school, my father gave me a decision to make. He says, A, you can go back to the States. I was supposed to go to either San Luis Obispo in California or UCLA. probably taking out biology or biochemistry or bioengineering because my cousins did that. Or my father said, well, you can stay here in the Philippines. And I got accepted to the PT program at University of the Philippines at UP.
You applied.
Yes. And my father, who also went to UP, just like my grandfather also went to UP, my father said, well, if you stay here, we'll pay for everything. We'll get you an apartment and we'll get you a car, and you just, you can basically live your life here if you want, because obviously, the benefit of going to school at UP was the fact that the tuition was very subsidized.
Yes.
But if I went then to California, then I have to basically take care of myself and fend for myself.
And pay the tuition?
And pay
Really?
well, basically get loans, borrow money, all that other stuff. And so, you know what, I mean, for a kid, you're 18 years old and, you have a community of people who are also like boys and girls there. You're like, well, if I'm only going to stay here for 4 or 5 more years, might as well make the most out of it. So I ended up going to the Philippines, staying at UP.
Were you in the dorm or you went back home?
I stayed in a dorm for a year, and then we ended up getting like a shared apartment with like some friends and stuff afterwards. But it was after that is then that my real journey began, where I was like, okay, what's the next step of this? I don't want to just stay here. I have the opportunity, obviously being born in the US, to have bigger possibilities and fulfill this dream that I had when I was 18, which was to be one of the first Filipinos in the NBA.
Okay. How did that come about? Yes. How did you, of course, you're Filipino and American. So how did your dream of saying, I want to be there, how did that happen?
Well, being Filipino in itself is having the desire of wanting to be part of basketball. I mean, I always say, and I always explain this to people, okay, what's the biggest sport in the Philippines? I was like, well, let's talk about priorities. In the Philippines, the number one thing is God. The second thing is basketball. Well, there was a period of time it was Manny Pacquiao first. It's Manny Pacquiao, and then basketball, and then Miss Universe. Beauty pageants.
Yes.
So, and then the fifth is karaoke, which is a sport.
Yes.
So, but then obviously Manny kind of went down a little bit. And then basketball will always remain one of the top 2 or top 3.
Yes.
And growing up, I played basketball. I watched basketball games. At that time, there was the only way you could watch basketball is through the FEN network. That you pointed your antenna to Clark, and Clark would show you basketball games from America. And we would be there at the middle of the night, like, oh my God, yes, great game, And it was definitely a desire. And I played basketball. I was a co-captain of my basketball team in La Salle. But I said, how can I continue to be part of this? And I remember watching the Super Bowl one day, and I saw this lady that said there was an ad for her, and she was in sports medicine. I was like, wow, I didn't know there was such a thing as sports medicine. So you're saying that I can be in medicine, something that my parents have been wanting me to be part of since I was a little boy, but then I can be in sports? I didn't even know that existed. And a light bulb came up, and I started investigating ways for me to be part of that, because then I noticed, yes, there are these guys that were sitting down in a suit during basketball games, that when somebody gets injured, they would run to the court. And I was like, that's a job. I didn't know that you could do that. And I said, that's who I want to be.
So you did not aspire to be a basketball player?
No, because I knew if I wanted to get to the top of the mountain, it was going to be hard for me to be a basketball player in the NBA, so to speak.
Yes.
So I said, what is my greatest superpower is taking care of people and nurturing people. And then I said, well, I can nurture athletes too. Maybe this is the direction I need to go. So I found a way, through research of what that meant and what that looked like. And I didn't have any real mentors in that direction, nor did I have somebody to look up to. I just did a general thing. I said, well, if I don't have anyone to look up to, I will be that person
you
for
have
the
to
next
look
generation.
For it yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
That's terrific. So when you went to UP, that was already on your mind.
Oh, yeah.
So you didn't take medicine like what your mother did.
Yeah.
So you took physical therapy.
Yeah.
Was that already something that was in UP, or something that? How did you search? How did you know?
Because UP, I didn't have anyone to really guide me in that situation, but I knew that physical therapy was the closest thing you can get to working with injured people, I
Right.
guess is the right
Yes.
word,
Yeah.
without having to go into medicine.
Right. You didn't want to be a doctor.
A part of me did, but I was being, in a weirdly sense, and I love my parents, but I was being forced to either be a neurosurgeon or cardiac surgeon. And I was like, not really my thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I, almost weirdly out of spite, I said, how can I do something that is still in medicine, but will also confuse the heck out of my parents of what I did? That's by being in sports medicine, but not necessarily in medicine. So they won't ever ask me for medication because I can't give it to them.
Yes. Very good.
So it was a weird spite situation, but I still managed to find my way through it. I flowed like water, basically.
Right. Very good. And so that's how you started with getting all the degrees after your name. So UP, physical therapist, and then what's the next?
So I went to PT school for UP at UP, and we ended up there was a sports rotation that I made sure that I was part of, and that got me the taste already with working with athletes. And I came here to the US looking to go continue school, but there wasn't one immediately that I could go into because I was already a registered physical therapist and I already take the board here and everything. And then most of the programs were built for those who still need to take the board exam, but I already was one. So most universities were like, why do you need to go to school here when you already are one? Just because you want the name or title, whatever, you're wasting your money. And I was like, okay, fine. And then miraculously, as I was in Boston, because my dream was to go to Boston University and row the Charles and, Good Will Hunting situation, and Dead Poet Society was really one of my dream situations. I got a call from, or somebody from Boston University suggested that I call somebody in New Hampshire that was beginning a program that would help people like me, physical therapists, that maybe want to get more into sports through the world of athletic training. And they had a graduate program that was just beginning. And I had a 45-minute chat with the director of the program, and I applied. The next thing you know, I'm in New Hampshire on July of year 2000, after coming from the Philippines, not because I spent December in the Philippines not knowing if the world was going to end because it's Y2K. But I ended up, by that July, ended up in New Hampshire and stayed in New Hampshire for 2 years for a master's degree on athletic training and sports medicine. Also became a CSCS, or a strength and conditioning coach, from there. And then after that, spent a year and a half at Yale doing my almost postgrad fellowship. But in the summers, while I was going to school in New Hampshire, I spent time at Stanford volunteering with their sports medicine camps and all that stuff because I just really want to get engulfed in it. I think that's the thing that's necessary. Is like, if you don't have the experience, make sure you throw yourself at these experiences and these possibilities, because that's the only way you can get better, and that's the only way you will know that that's the direction you want to go to. And then after that, I was lucky enough to come to New York after my time at Yale. I started working here, and then I ended up in baseball. It wasn't my first love to get into baseball, but baseball gave me a stepping stone to understand what professional sports was like. And while I was in baseball, I was able to then begin initially a doctorate program at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, because my idol was Michael Jordan, and I said I want to go to school here. But then after 2 years, it was just very challenging for me, because then I ended up staying in Florida, where baseball was based out of, and I ended up just finishing my doctoral degree in Florida. So yeah, and still continued on after that. I just was always hungry to learn. I was always hungry to be the best clinician in baseball. And I was always hungry to find a way to learn something new, so that eventually, as I've come home often, it gave me an opportunity to then teach what I've learned back to people in the Philippines.
Wow. All right. Everyone listening, do you see how he charted his life? From the time he was young, he already knew, this is what I want, and just studied it and focused it, and slowly in sort of like the universe, having said, this is what I want, and you were willing to work, and study and research and study. I'm sure you studied. So for everyone listening, set your goal, everybody, and work for it. Work hard. Yes. Okay. So now you are in Major League Baseball. And how did your dream of becoming an NBA, not as a player, but as a
medical professional?
Medical professional.
What's
how
funny?
Did that happen?
I will always say that the universe and destiny has has the ability to wield its hand when the time isn't right. And I'm a big believer in that. And it was interesting because after leaving baseball in 2012, I started a company that was a social enterprise that helped bring education to places around the world with no readily access to it with regards to sports medicine. We created events and classes in New Zealand, in Cambodia, in the Philippines, in South Africa, in
You went
Eastern
to all
Europe.
of those places?
Yeah, and so we started
Oh my
teaching
God,
that. So
this is a well-traveled man. Oh my goodness. Okay.
a little bit selfishly, there's also an excuse to that. A, it allowed me to teach in these places, but B, it also allowed me to dance salsa in these places. So,
He knows how to have fun, All work and no play makes John a dull boy. Okay. Isn't that the word?
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
Dull boy, exactly.
Yes.
But
So he knows how to have fun.
I always be able to integrate fun because I think this is hence the balance of life. Is yes, you put in the work. Yes, you really try to find a way to push the needle professionally. But also, if you don't enjoy the ride, then why are you living? It doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure that you enjoy that ride you're going there. So I always, like I said, when I do work, I'm a weekend, I'm going hard. But then I was like, hey, is there a salsa festival next week? Okay, that's the city I'm going to go to, or that's the town I'm going to go to. Even in places like Brno, Czech Republic, or even in places like Angkor Wat, Cambodia, it's like finding a way to like double up happiness and work all together.
Don't you love that, guys? He knows how to do it. When you love what you do, you're not going to work.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So he's found it. Listen well. Okay.
But achieving my dream came in 2014. I was in Prague, Czech Republic. I woke up in the morning on my birthday. I was staying with a friend. He was giving
You
me
were
a couch.
turning what?
I was turning, what was I turning? 33 maybe. I was turning 33, or even less than, about 33. And it was my birthday. And I woke up that morning. I gave gratitude to the universe, as I always do every morning.
Okay, hey, wait, that's very important. Gratitude. You thank God, you thank the universe, by whatever name you thank the force outside of you. You see, that's part of his secret. Thank you.
That is part of my secret.
Gratitude.
Gratitude is my biggest thing. It's something that I've been practicing, researching, and following the art of for really the past 6-7 years. Really very hard, to the point that I'm doing research in it, getting a PhD on it. It's something I'm really serious about, not just practically but academically. But I embody it. So on my birthday that day, I gave gratitude to the universe. I said, thank you for giving me a chance to work the 4-hour work week, to travel the world, to dance salsa in every place in the planet, but also be able to give back and create impact on this planet. But if there's one thing I'd wish for, it's for this birthday is an opportunity to find myself in the NBA.
Okay, again, did you hear that? He expresses it, he manifests it. Thank God, thank you, Lord, thank you, the universe. And then, but this is really what I want.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is what I want, not just necessarily for me, but for the millions of Filipino kids that have never seen somebody on that floor that they can look up to say that, hey, there's somebody from Manila that actually did it, and I want to be that person. And I said, this is who I want to be. I didn't really have, like I said earlier, I didn't really have a mentor to really follow. So I had to be that. And now it's my time to be able to do that. And if you gave me the opportunity to do that, I would never ask for anything else. And that's what I asked for on my birthday. And it's really weird. So that day, instead of normally having a big party, popping champagne, making it rain, going on a dance floor, I just gave hugs. I went to the middle of the street of Prague at that time, before COVID. And I obviously asked for consent first. Every time we give a hug, I gave about 300 hugs.
Oh my God, did you see that? On his birthday, he hugged people. May I hug you? And if they say yes, he hugged them. Wow, have you ever seen that? Something like that? Yeah. My God, Erwin, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And as you hug, they are happy too.
Oh, absolutely. A hug is one of the only gestures in the human society that you are giving and receiving simultaneously. So that's why hug's very important. And I teach evidence-based ways of doing hugs, because there's a way to really where you feel it with consent, obviously, that then you actually have oxytocin and other hormones like flying up in the air that allows you to feel better for that day and allows for your day to then be better for other people. So
Very important, guys. Did you hear that? A hug gives double remedy.
Yeah.
Okay. Antitoxins. I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
that?
It's the giving and receiving that happens simultaneously. And the dopamine and oxytocin flies up. So.
And how do you do it?
Oh, yeah. You basically, it's a whole process of
Yes.
where you first ask permission. You second, you position yourself so two hearts are facing each other.
Oh my God.
Third, you open your arms up so that then the two hearts can come together, walk in, go in for the real thing. And as you're giving a hug, really close it. Have the intention that you're really going to hold that. Take a breath and hold that position. Really, research says it's really 20 seconds. But if you get a deep breath, it could last you for anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds. And then when you let go, look at the person in the eye and say thank you. And
oh my God, isn't that wonderful? I almost could do it. Okay, anyone listening, do that. And look at Erwin. He is a happy guy.
I'm a
He
very
knows
happy guy.
how to give thanks and to give a hug.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Yeah,
Thanks, it's
300 for your birthday.
Yeah, I
on
gave
that
300
day.
for my birthday.
In Prague.
In Prague, in the middle of the square, to complete strangers.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's great.
It was really a bold move that one of my good friends from Prague was like, "Hey, we should do this." I was like, "You think we should? Come on, it's your birthday, man. It's the perfect excuse." And I was like, you know
and
what?
you
We're
tell
gonna do
them,
that.
"Can I hug you? It's my birthday."
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
In-
it's
in
my
English.
birthday. In English, and you would have foreigners and tourists, but also locals. And my friend who was Czech would like translate it for me, and they're like, oh yeah, sure. So we gave about 300, and we did it for about 3 hours. And as the sun was setting, there was an American gentleman who worked for either FedEx or UPS at the time. We were on the river Danube, and he says, "Hey man, just want to let you know, like, I love what you're doing here." I was like, "Oh, you mean giving hugs on my birthday?" He goes, "Yeah, but more than that." He goes, "You know, there are 30 to 31 days in a month, and most of those days they're forgettable because really nothing significant happens. But today is not one of those days because you made this day different for me.
Oh my God.
So I just want to say thank you."
Oh my God, that
So-
makes me cry. You are so good. Really?
And I was like, oh, wow,
Yes,
that's-
yes, because you hugged him too.
Yeah, yeah. It was like, wow, like this will be out of the 31 days that happens in a month, this is going to be the one day that's going to be unforgettable. So I just want to say thank you for doing this. And I was
Wow.
like,
And he's American.
yeah, this American guy who happens to be in the river Danube next to me while we were barbecuing before the end of the day.
Right,
And,
right. You know, everyone, Blue Danube. Tarararan. Okay, that's where he was, on the Blue Danube. Okay.
I didn't even know that, really.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes.
you're right.
Okay.
So the interesting thing is that after that, I just let it go. I let go. I just said, I gave my wish in the morning. I did the good deed, and I just let it go. And weirdly enough, believe it or not, 2 days later, I get a call. I got a call from a colleague of mine who worked. I knew him because he was working for Red Bull High Performance. But then he called me and says, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I said, "I'm in Prague giving hugs, traveling the world." And he was like, "Okay, do you want to work in the NBA?" And I said, "Give me 1 second." "Can you give me 1 second?" So I had to like go around the corner, put the phone down, and be like, "What the?" and then I went back to it and I said, "Well, maybe. What are we talking about here?" Pretended I didn't really feel this crazy thing inside of me, but he explained how it was, and I was like, "Okay, wow, this is. I didn't know this. Oh, wow, I didn't even. Wait a minute. I did ask for this. I didn't send a CV out to anybody, but I did ask the being beyond me for this, and that was one call, and then 2-3 days later, I got another call, and then more and more. Really, for 2 weeks, I got calls from 5 different NBA teams.
Oh my God. You see that? It happens. He prayed on his birthday. This is the only thing I want. Okay? So everyone, take note. Take note. It's happening. Okay.
Manifestation is definitely something
Yes.
that I'm very good at.
Yes, you manifested. And also you gave back.
Yeah.
You said, I want to hug 300 people. Can you imagine that? Have you ever hugged 300 people? No, only Erwin. Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always say that, and I teach this to some of the kids that I mentor, is that if you're going to ask for something, and if you ask for something real, make sure it comes from a pure of heart. I think most of the time, especially the younger generation nowadays, they're swayed by social media clout. They're swayed by money. They're swayed by influence that isn't even close to who they are. And that when they say that I pray for this, or I ask the universe for this, it has malice behind it. It has bias. So from my personal standpoint, I don't think the universe will listen to that because there's ego behind it. It's not something that you just want because there's a dream that's bigger. It's something because I can do this because now
I'll be popular.
I'll be popular and all that stuff. For me, I didn't do it. I did it because of the fact that I asked for it because it was something I dreamed of since I was 18. It was something because I felt like every Filipino could have an opportunity to do this once they see that somebody has done it. And so I think when it comes to intentions, when you set intentions, and when the kids, whoever kids will be watching this, and if you want to manifest it, you have to come from pure heart. You have to have your intentions real and without malice.
Okay, listen well. That's the secret of his success. All right? Gratitude, saying your intention from a pure heart.
Yeah, yeah,
No
absolutely.
ego.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, absolutely,
wonderful.
absolutely.
So on that day, 3 days later, after you have done your birthday, the hugging and the manifestation and praying, several calls
Yeah, in the next 2 weeks, I got several calls from NBA teams.
to join the NBA.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so now the moment of decision.
Yeah, the moment of decision.
You didn't say yes to the first one.
Nope, I didn't because there was just a lot of uncertainty. There was nobody was guaranteeing anything, and one of those calls that I had was from the Miami Heat, and it was an opportunity to work with Coach Eric, who obviously is half Filipino in Miami, and at that time, the head of the medical staff there was like, hey, it would be great if you come here and you and Coach Eric could go to the Philippines, do some charity work. I was like, oh, that would be amazing. And you live in Miami. I was like, oh, amazing. And it was like, so I literally booked my flight. I was coming from, I went from Prague to Belgium, and I was on the way down. I had a layover in New York before heading to Miami. And then the day before or 2 days before, I get a call from the New York Knicks. And the New York Knicks goes like, hey, your name has been floating around and we've just made some changes in this organization. And clearly you're the only person that this organization wants to fill that spot.
Oh my God, did you see that? Wow.
I was like, what? I was like, okay. So we'd like you to change your flight, have a layover in New York longer than you need to before going to Miami. We will pay for this change. We'll also have a limo come pick you up. Go straight to the facility, have a conversation, put you up on a hotel, and then you can be on your way to Miami afterwards if you still want to, if you didn't decide to stay here. And I was
my
like,
God.
What?
What?
This is crazy.
Yes,
and I
yes,
was like,
yes.
wow, this is a...
So they're opening up a new system or a new position? Is that what
there
they
was a
told
position that just became empty. That somebody was unfortunately let go. And there was a situation where now they're like, hey, we need somebody to fill this. And clearly your name has been floating around the air and you're the person we want here. And number one, I had two colleagues, very good friends that were already there. Two, it was going to be in a city that it would have been a dream for me to then be part of an organization that loved basketball so much, like the Knicks, like Madison Square Garden. I mean, there's no other place in the country, in the world like that. And then third, the opportunity to meet people that would help in my philanthropy in the future. You're sitting in you're standing in Madison Square Garden. And there's so many celebrities and well-known people and investors and all that stuff that if you are able to like have great relationships with them, they end up helping, fund your nonprofits and all the projects that you're going to do because you come from a pure heart. And I was like, wow, why wouldn't I want to come to New York? And
Exactly.
and lastly, as I made the decision, the biggest one was a guy named Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson was my idol. He was the Zen master. He's the one that helped Kobe and Michael Jordan become who they are through his practice of Zen Buddhism and mindfulness, which was something I always admired of him. And an opportunity to work with him would have been a dream come true. And so as I made this decision I'm on my layover here, and the Miami people telling me like, look, yes, Coach Eric would love you to be here. Yes, we'd love you to be here. But you have an opportunity to work with one of the greatest legends ever and have him remember you. It'd be hard to pass up in New York City.
New York City, yes.
I
The center of the world.
I don't know how I would not. Yes, I would love you to come to Miami, but if you have this opportunity, I think you need to look into it more. So
That was good of them.
it's good of them, yeah, and even though I had the other calls as well, the other organizations, and that was just on my first step of this, I think it was definitely the right choice.
Yes.
10 years later.
Yes,
Here,
yes,
as
yes,
I say that.
yes. No. You decided you want to be with the NBA when you were high school graduation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you work on it on every step of the way, and then at the end it came to you.
Yeah, and it came
Yes,
to me. Yeah.
God's grace, God's wisdom. Yes, you were saying that things happen at the right time.
Yep.
God gives it to you when you're ready. Yes, and so certainly we're ready. You had all the experience.
Yes,
And
yes.
your name came to them.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't send a CV out to anybody. I even asked around, like, who sent my CV out? No, I just happened to be the best free agent, if you must, during that period of time.
Yes,
So,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Again, you prepare yourself. If there's something you want, you prepare yourself because you did. Every step of the way, you're preparing yourself to reach your dream. And so it came.
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful. Right. So how was that, being with the Knicks?
Oh, it was some of the greatest times of my life. It was a dream come true. And it was also an opportunity to make other Filipinos' dreams come true by being the symbol of it. When I first got the gig, one of the first people to come and interview me was an ABS-CBN reporter named Don Tagala. And Don, weirdly enough, before we ended the interview, he asked me with a mic in my face, and I didn't even look up until he says, "Hey, if you had something to, some words of advice for kids in the Philippines who want to follow you, what would it be?" And out of nowhere, I came up with these three things. I remember you talking about three things. I came up, I looked into the mic, and I said, visualize it, prepare for the path, and manifest it.
Lovely.
And he goes, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" And I said, when you visualize something, have absolute clarity to the point that you can smell it, you can taste it. When I was 18 and I woke up in the middle of the night and I dreamed of this vision that I had of where I could even smell the cologne of my coaches next to me and mixed with the hot dog smell and popcorn, the lights, the sounds of an arena, be in the moment of where you'd want to be with absolute clarity. Number two, prepare for the path. Yes, go to school, but also create relationships, create connections, do the work, make the sacrifices. I think it's weird to say this, but I think it's a bit sad nowadays that a lot of the younger generation think they can get into the big leagues without having to do the work nowadays, because they can send an email or send a text message to somebody, say, "Hey, I should be working for you," and rather than actually doing the work and preparing themselves. Because also, it's not even about getting the job; it's about what happens when you get the job. Are you able to make decisions? Game time decisions, life or death decisions, life or career decisions for athletes that are then working their butt off to get to where they are. And then can you answer their question when they say, "Can I go or not?" And if your experience isn't there yet to be able to make the decision, you're not just changing their life, but you're possibly changing yours. So you need to prepare that path. And lastly, manifest it. And I say that because I think there's a period of time that I thought I already had 2 NBA jobs right after I left baseball. But I was forcing it. I was like, I need to get this. I need to get this. Every interview, I was trying to make a show rather than just being me. And I didn't get I ended up becoming second on both those jobs because I wasn't just being natural. And I said that maybe what I need to do is take a step back, have the intention with a pure heart that I want, like I said earlier, and just let go. And it was because of that letting go, that allows you to actually have your dreams come true.
Oh, I love this. Listen well, please. He has just given you the secret of his success. No, and you can do it. But it's hard work. You dream, and then, as you said, number 2,
Prepare.
you work hard. You prepare. Prepare for that. Because then, if you're not prepared, then you're no good to the people around you. Yes,
And then manifest it. Allow it to happen.
Allow it to happen.
Instead of trying to push.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very good. Oh my God. So many lessons here. There is a book in you.
There is a book in me.
There is a book in you. Yes,
I've been writing since 2016. So
Yes. All right. So now you have your dream job. And how did you fully made yourself the person that you are now by getting the job that you dreamed of? How was that experience?
Achieving the dream was one thing. Living it every day was different, because you have to pinch yourself every morning. You wake up and you're like, hey, I'm going to work and I'm in the NBA now. And in my first couple of years, it was like that. I just kept on pinching myself because I couldn't believe it. And I had all my friends from the Philippines, like, oh my God, you're actually really there. You know, I see you on TV. Like, I can't even believe this. And then after a while, you start realizing that there's a lot to it rather than what you see on TV. The pressures, particularly here in New York, where it's not just working for a team, it's working for New York's team. And it's
Exactly.
results need to be done yesterday.
Yes.
And so the pressure is real. The struggle is real. And so it's important to note that you need to then, after that excitement, that honeymoon period, if you must, for the first year or two, now it's when the grind starts happening. Because not only do you need to find a way to make sure that you don't do anything wrong, but you also find a way to make sure you take care of yourself in order for you not to do something wrong. And I think one of the things that I've learned the most, especially in the time that I've now been there, now that I'm not there, is that if you need to take time off for yourself, like go into a park or take a day off, verbalize it, say it. It's okay if you lose one day. I think most people are afraid, like, oh, if I don't go there that one day, I'm going to get fired. It's like, but if you come on that day and you're not well, then you're just, in a sense, making things worse, not just for you, but for everybody else. So I think if there's anything that I've learned is that self-care always comes first, number one. Number two.
Self-care. Guys, self-care. All right? Listen well.
Self-care, always number one. Number two, when you're working with athletes, $1 million athletes, super talented athletes, they've seen everything. They've done everything. They've had everyone around them tell them that they're the best, and everyone around them tell them this is the next thing you should do to get better. So what you have to do is be strong with who you are, understand what it is that you stand for, and teach that. And the greatest lesson and the greatest insight I've learned in the past decade of working, or maybe 2 decades of working with professional athletes, is that us as teachers, as gurus, as guides, as Sherpas, all we can do is plant the seed. We can't force these plants to grow. We can't force these athletes to know of how things are supposed to be done. We just plant the seed. We teach them and we let them learn themselves. And if they struggle along the way, and when they're ready to ask questions, be there to support, be there to hold space. Because in the end, it should be their triumphs that they should be accoladed. And you should never have the ego of you saying like, well, I helped him do that. You should just say like, I gave him the seeds and I planted it, and it was him who found himself there. So I think that's one of the biggest things that, especially as practitioners, as clinicians, as coaches, as guides, as teachers, is that we're really responsible merely for planting seeds.
Isn't that great? All right. No ego. Yes. Unless a grain of seed, a grain dies, meaning to say you give it up, then only then will the benefit come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, very good. That's great.
And lastly, I think what we have to realize as we work with athletes and working with high performers is that trust is the most important thing. No professional athlete will do what you want them to do or listen to you unless they trust you. And if you don't have the confidence of yourself, of the work that you've done, the experiences that you've had, and the lessons that you then part to them, then they don't trust you. And the only way they can do and follow is by trusting. So trust is one of the most important things that you have to set first beyond anything else.
Can you just give an example with one or two?
For example, if you, for example,
what happened to you?
Yeah, for example, an athlete, maybe he twisted his ankle, and then you go in the back, in the middle of the game, you twist his ankle, you're doing the assessment, and then you determine that it's not that bad. You determine that, hey, I know it's painful right now, but we're going to tape you up, we're going to get you going, we're going to try it out, and we're going to see if this works. If that athlete doesn't trust you, doesn't trust the fact that you know how to tape, doesn't trust the fact that your decision and your screening meant that he can still go and play the game, then, and he has doubt, if there's any little doubt in his head that the work that you just did isn't going to work, then he's going to be like, no, I don't think I can go. But if you if you are there and you give them support and say, look, I want you to try this. And if it doesn't work, then we'll pull you out. If I look at you and I watch you and you can't do it, then we'll pull you out. But trust that I did my job and I feel like you still have a little bit in you and you should go. And these decisions are hard game time decisions because they could make the players worse if they do a wrong thing.
That's right.
But because they trust you, they will actually try it.
Lovely. Yes, that's great. And has there been a chance where somehow he or the athlete that you are talking to did not trust you or did not believe you? It's more belief.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there an occasion?
There is, because there are times when the athlete's new to your team and you happen to be, you're there, but they're new and they're stars or they come from another team that somebody was already taking care of them. So they're not really sure of who you are. So that takes some time for them to trust you. Yes, they can talk to everyone around and say, hey, Erwin's a good guy. You should let him take a look at your neck or take a look at your ankle and he'll get you sorted out pretty good. But there's still that period of time they're not really sure. So you gain that trust by the things you can do every day. When they ask you for something, you help them as much as you can. When they're in a bit of trouble, you're there to support them. And I think by doing that, it creates a relationship that goes onto the court, but also goes beyond that.
Yes. All right. So why did you decide finish? I've reached my dream. Then I'll do something else.
It's always challenging when you've reached something and you're there, and everyone thinks, "Oh, that's it. That's it. You did it. You can stay there forever." Like I said, people don't understand what it means to be in that pressure-packed situation where in the New York Minute, things need to be done already.
Yes.
And now that New York Minute becomes 9.5 years and you're like, wow, this is taking a toll, not just mentally.
Was it 9 years?
Yeah, 9.5 years.
Really? With the Knicks?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't take a toll on you mentally, but it also takes a toll on you physically. You realize that you're not sleeping that well at some points. You realize that you're starting to get anxiety because you're worried about your players, and you realize that that there's so many things that you can't control, and that next thing you know are happening, and then people are going to use you as an scapegoat because maybe it didn't work, and so all of this will start compounding. And for me, it was a physical manifestation of all these anxieties and stresses, and made me stop. And it was June 15 of last year, just last year, where I was doing my daily yoga practice in our sauna, and then my back just pinched. And I felt the pinch in my back, and I said, okay, that feels weird. And I did my normal cold plunges, I showered, but then I showered, when I was getting dressed, I couldn't put my shorts on. And I said, okay, something weird's happening here. And nothing really big happened, but I don't know, something bad's happening. I walk into our training room. My colleague goes, wow, you look kind of wonky, dude. Are you okay? Hey, why don't you lie down, lay face down, we'll do some treatment in your back. He does some treatment on my back for about 20 minutes. And mind you, this is about 8 a.m. Players are going to start showing up about 9. And I'm on my belly. And he goes, okay, why don't you flip over and let's do some stretches. And I physically couldn't move.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know what's happening to me, but this is terrible.
Yes,
I physically couldn't move.
Yes.
All the way to the point that I was there for 10 hours, face down on a table, and I had to drink my smoothie through a straw.
Wow.
And at 6 o'clock, because my colleagues are like, hey, I don't know, we don't know what to do with you anymore.
Yes, yes.
You haven't gone to the bathroom yet.
You couldn't move.
So we can't move. So we can't just leave you here. Yeah. We're going to have to call the ambulance and get you to the hospital. It's like, no, I got this. I'm okay. It's like, no. The worst thing would happen is that the cleaning lady would show up tomorrow morning, and there's a body in the room with a puddle of water below him because you couldn't pee anywhere else but inside the room. No, you're going to the hospital. It took 5 people to transfer me to a gurney. They then put me in a hospital. And then I was in the hospital emergency room in Westchester. I was staring at the ceiling for 12 hours.
Wow.
And in those 12 hours, I started really thinking about this one question. I asked myself, what's the one thing or 2 things that I haven't done yet that I've always wanted to do while I still have my health mentally and physically? And one of those things was to spend more quality time with my parents. 2 was to go on some crazy adventures while I still can, while my legs and my back, everything is still sorted out, whether that's bungee jumping, skydiving, all those crazy things that I love doing. And 3, visit my own country, to travel around the Philippines and stay in the bangkas and go for 8-hour rides and go through these crazy, islands where there's nobody there, because, it's a little more challenging when you get older. It's hard to get off the smaller boats now or go to these tiny islands and live in a hut with nothing around. So one of those things is to come back to the Philippines and really spend time and visit it. And also make sure that the promise that I made a long time ago, which was to try to find a way to give back fully, was fulfilled. And so I think there was 3 major things that really came up for me as I asked myself, what are the things that I need to do while I'm still healthy? And so, after about a month of finally getting back.
Wait.
Yeah.
But you were still stationary.
Yeah, I was stationary. I was lying down, and,
Right.
and I couldn't really move.
Really?
Yeah.
So what did the doctor say? What was that?
Well, what's funny is that the week later, I had an appointment with a spine surgeon here in the city, and he looked at my film, he tested me out, and he said, what's weird is like there's really nothing major that happened. Your disc didn't explode, anything like that. You just happen to have a little bit of, excretion of maybe the disc, maybe a little bit of like something to come off. That now it's poisoning your nerves, and the nerves are causing the rest of your body to react this way. But it's nothing new. It's pretty old stuff that you have in there. It just took you maybe getting really tired, stressed, and it would have taken you tying your shoelaces or turning in a weird way for this to activate. You just happened to do it while doing a yoga move in the sauna.
Oh my God.
So you were, in a sense, a ticking time bomb.
Okay. Your
you
body
probably didn't
wanted
know.
it.
And your body was like saying like, oh, you need some rest.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I think that was just the culmination of all of it.
Yes.
It wasn't, sometimes I wish it was something sexy. Like I was jumping off a plane or something, but unfortunately not.
No. It was your body was kind to you.
Yeah.
It was saying, okay, now time to stop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I can't even imagine what it would be like if that was not just a back situation. What if it was a stroke, a heart attack,
Yes,
it was something
yes.
bigger, more major?
Exactly.
Can I still do, my life would change dramatically.
Yes.
So I asked myself, what can I do now while I still have musculoskeletal, I can deal with this. I can still control it. I can work harder for it. I can do this. But other things, maybe I'm not.
So after that stay did it take you a long time to recover back your mobility, your action?
It took me about almost a month.
A month.
To finally, about 3 weeks to finally be comfortable with walking around, with doing things, maybe even going to the gym for a little bit.
Did you have a good physical therapist coming
myself.
to you? Yourself, you cured yourself. Yes.
Myself,
yes.
but also I had help with people that I take time with. I have a chiropractor here in New York that is very gentle but amazing. I have a body worker, a soft tissue specialist that works on me as well. Really, but when it came to the exercise, it had to be me, because I had to be motivated. Every time I woke up in the morning, these are things I needed to do. And lucky for me, we had all the technology that we could possibly use since I was with the Knicks. So I was able to use some of that technology to be able to help myself.
And so that's how you said, this is it.
Yeah, this is it.
Were they very sad to let you go?
I think it was amicable because of the fact that there were some changes that were about to happen with the Knicks already, and I was about to change already. So I think in the end it worked out for both of us, where we're like, we shook hands. I was like, hey, it was a good run. Like I need to spend time for me, and you guys are, trying to, create something new, and I'm excited for you, and I'll be their support, but I might have to do it from the sidelines.
Yes. Oh my God. There you go. Important decisions, and your body gave you the clue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes you push, and you don't realize until something major happens.
Yes. Listen to your body. That's another lesson. Listen to your body and then do the work.
Yes, and then do the work. Yeah. Absolutely.
So you cured yourself in the manner of speaking.
Yes.
You were your own patient.
Yes, I was my own patient and doctor simultaneously.
Doctor.
I need to make sure that I take care of myself.
Yes.
life changes, but also it's this outlook of saying like, I have a bigger purpose to serve, and what can I do now to then use a platform that I've built in the past 20 years to being in professional sport to then spread my message throughout the world.
And that was what earlier you were talking about what you're doing in the Philippines. Can you just tell the audience?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm, I think one of my foundations is called Gratitude Gang, and Gratitude Gang is clearly, as the community states, is a very positive community of people that are trying to support kids in the Philippines through mental health and mindfulness initiatives. We partner with local community feeding programs. And then while they do the feeding, we add a little bit of the understanding and awareness of mindfulness and mental health and how important it is for kids. And so that's what we do. And we start with these small schools in Siargao. And what we do is that when they go, we first show up in the morning. We have help with the ates, cook in the morning for the food, nutritious food for the kids. And then before the kids eat, we do some activities. We do some breathing. We do some body awareness. We do some just visualizations and stuff. So the kids understand.
How do you say that? What do you mean visualization? Visualization, what you want to be?
We talk about dreams. Talk about dreams. So from the older kids that never really had an opportunity to have people around them to listen in, we create a little forum and we talk about dreams. We say, what is your real dream? And of course, in the Philippines, most of the kids are shy. They don't want to say anything.
Yes, yeah.
But then as you create the safe space, and as me, as a strong enough facilitator, I say, no, really, guys, let's respect everyone that shares their story, and we want to know why, and let's support them. And you have to be strong enough to say, because everyone teases everyone in the Philippines. No. Everyone keep quiet first. Let her or him speak, and they'll share. Like, my dream is to be a flight attendant, but I flight attendant, but my family's poor, so I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I say, look, stop there. Let's stop us. I want to be a flight attendant. I'm going to ask you the question, why? It's like, why? Because I want to see the world. And I said, done. Don't put, because my family's poor, it's not going to happen. End with there, because what you set your mind to is what was going to happen. And so, but giving this forum and this space for kids
to articulate
that in a safe space that it's controlled is very
and
rare.
not to be laughed at.
It's very rare in the Philippines, especially in this in an island, rural and mountain communities. And so our mission is to try to help these kids, because what we found is that there is a illiteracy rate in the Philippines at 91% for kids after 6th grade, particularly in these island communities, these rural communities, and the mountains communities. And that's tied to malnutrition. So if we can help kids and mothers, expectant mothers, in the first 1,000 days of the kids' lives to then help them eat better, but also have practices that allows for their brains to be more evolved, it'll hopefully help them in the long run and maybe drop that illiteracy rate. And if I can even drop the illiteracy rate by 1%, I've done my job on earth.
Yes, that's wonderful. Guys, here is our dear Erwin Benedict Valencia. And let's give him a big hand. Ang galing, ang galing. Listen well, okay? And repeat this session, this episode, because you are learning a lot from him, because he set his dream, he worked for it, he manifested it, and it happened. And then as he's now in another phase of giving back in the Philippines, and 91% now, our illiteracy rate in the Philippines. Oh my God, kawawang kawawa. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Loida.
Well, the first question was, how will those listening to you help you in your mission, the youth in the Philippines?
First and foremost, it's easy to go online and check in gratitudegang.org. We are a 501c3 here based in the US, in Florida, but all the proceeds go directly to the Philippines in helping provide mental health services, particularly mindfulness type services for kids, alongside nutrition services for the kids in the island of Siargao. A way to be part of that is either A, obviously donate, B, be part of the mission of actually going to the Philippines, maybe joining me in the island of Siargao, have a couple of days of surfing, but also having a couple of days of going and serving the kids by helping in the kitchen cook food, teach some mindfulness activities, and then play around with them and then letting them know that they are listened to, heard to, and seen. And I think that's one you can do. So either go gratitudegang.org, or you can find us also on Instagram at Gratitude Gang Foundation.
Okay. Gratitude
Gang.
The gang.com.
Gratitudegang.org.
.org. It's an organization,
Yeah,
so
organization.
not a for-profit. It's not for-profit, 501c3. So if you give, you can deduct it from your income
Yes.
tax.
Yes.
All right. Gratitude
Gang.org.
.org.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the other question is, how is your love life?
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's one of the questions.
This is the fast talk version of this podcast. My love life is evolving.
Okay. For those of you aspiring, may pag-asa pa.
Yeah.
All right. So write him on gratitudegang.org.
Or you can find me directly, DM me on Erwin B. Valencia on Instagram.
There he is. He's in Instagram. All right. The third one is, what do you do to distress or to relax?
Ooh, that's a great question. What I personally do to distress is I make sure I have my rituals every morning. What that includes waking up in the morning, and before I even open my eyes, is to put my right hand on my heart, put my left hand on top of my right hand. While my eyes are closed, take a deep breath, exhale it out, and before I open my eyes, I just give gratitude for the fact that I can take one more breath, because this breath would allow me to give more impact in this world.
Wow. Listen to that, okay? That's a great practice. Before you even move, go to the bathroom, whatever, your right hand.
All right, on your heart.
And
your
then the left hand
on top of that. Take a nice deep breath. And then as you exhale, you remind yourself how grateful you are that you can take one more breath, because this one breath will allow you to create more impact in this world.
Whew, I love that. All right, that is wonderful. And well, probably this is the last, and this is tough. If there's a headline about your life, what would that be?
Ooh, great question. Producers, good job, huh? Wow, there's a headline. I think simply, I think my favorite saying for myself is a saying that I put is, if nothing else, dream to inspire others.
Lovely. All right,
I think
that's
there's a headline
it.
would be
Erwin Benedict or B Valencia. What is it? What's the headline again?
Oh, if nothing else,
If nothing else,
dream to inspire others.
dream to inspire others. Okay, guys, you have heard it here on the Loida Lewis podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together with me and Erwin Valencia. Salamat. Thank you. Ang galing. Oh my God. I want you to be a friend, and I want a hug. I want a hug.
The Loida Lewis Podcast, hosted by Loida Lewis, is produced by the creators of Over a Glass or Two, Jesse and JV, executive produced by Loida Nicolas Lewis. Rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for a chance to be featured on a future episode. Have a question for Miss Loida? Just email us on askloidalewis@gmail.com. Your question might make its way to a future episode. Subscribe on all major platforms to never miss a beat. Thank you for listening to the Loida Lewis Podcast. Let's live, love, laugh, and learn together